from the graves, let the dead be raised. Shofars play, let the world feel the shockwave. Open up the gates for the ones who obeyed. Death be erased, come take away the heartbreak. Up from the graves, let the dead be raised. Shofars play, let the world feel the shockwave. Open up the gates for the ones who obeyed. Death be erased, come take away the heartbreak. Let a nation be birthed who inherit the earth. Bring them up from the lands where they first were dispersed. May the worst have a curse that can never be reversed. Hearts get searched, reimbursed for their works. Shofars burst, let the reapers go berserk. Resurrect the upright, right up from the dirt. They will never thirst, just immersed in your work. Let the first be last and the last be first. Mercy to the church, grace to the gracious. Graceful as angels, ageless faces. Dwelling in the heights, take flight so weightless. White robe, stainless, pure gold pavements. Ancient of days, I'ma make his ways famous. Glory to the most high, praise to his greatness. Space in his place, he can make arrangements. A tree of immortality, fruitful fragrance. Up from the graves, let the dead be raised. Shofars play, let the world feel the shockwave. Open up the gates for the ones who obeyed. Death be erased, come take away the heartbreak. Up from the graves, let the dead be raised. Shofars play, let the world feel the shockwave. Open up the gates for the ones who obeyed. Death be erased, come take away the heart. May the mountains melt like wax. Lift up the valleys mighty in your acts. No weapon formed will be able to attack. In your habitat, nothing wicked gets through the cracks. Every other kingdom of the world will collapse. When the law goes forth, they will have to adapt. Let the heavens and the earth overlap. Streets in the city like transparent glass. There we will do everything that you ask. You will separate the wheat from the chaff, bringing fulfillment to every paragraph. A feast made ready, go and get the fatted calf. Shofars blast, lightning flashes. Lawless ones turn right into ashes. Perfect ways for the ones who practiced. No more pain, come eradicate sadness. Up from the graves, let the dead be raised. Shofars play, let the world feel the shockwave. Open up the gates for the ones who obeyed. Death be erased, come take away the heartbreak. Up from the graves, let the dead be raised. Shofars play, let the world feel the shockwave. Open up the gates for the ones who obeyed. Death be erased, come take away the heartbreak.
Hello and welcome. This is Kingdom in Context. I'm Sean. I want to thank you for joining us here today for our Sabbath fellowship. I'm joined by my lovely wife, Lindsay.
Hey guys, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, sweetie.
Shabbat Shalom, babe.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. And
I guess we should double check that the mic is on, even though we just checked it. Yeah, give us one in the chat if the mic sounds good, if you can hear us both. And welcome, guys. Hope you're enjoying this Sabbath. If you're resting, you're probably enjoying it. If you're not, then you're not enjoying it. So you should study what the Sabbath is, how God calls it eternal, how he calls it a sign that you're already in covenant with him. And it's a wonderful way to honor the Most High, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind. Some of that means not using your strength and resting. That's right.
Isn't that amazing? He built in a rest day for us. It's beautiful. So check it out if you haven't already. If you haven't adopted it into your discipleship to Christ, I think it'll change your life. It'll be amazing. So last week we studied Zechariah chapter 1 through 3. We wanted to pick up again this week with Zechariah 4 through 6. And we've been kind of like doing a little cross-referencing comparison in real time with the Septuagint. So we have a Masoretic translation, the Berean Standard Bible we've been reading from, and then we've been also referencing the Septuagint just to see what kind of differences there may be, because in Zechariah there seems to be some differences. So Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Do you have anything you want to say before we get started?
Nope, I'm just admiring my gorgeous little beauty queen back here. She's so pretty.
All right.
Thank you. I made this. I learned how to do embroidery a couple years ago, and then I fused that with my wire wrapping. So this is my little embroidered name of the Father.
What just happened?
Yeah, where'd our...
There we go.
There we go.
All right. So we are trying a new software today. Someone recommended eSword last time. We tried to look it up and get it going. I think we figured it out. And so what we're going to be doing is looking at Zechariah chapter 4, looking at both the Brenton Septuagint as well as the Berean Standard Bible. So in fact, I need to switch these. There we go. So we're going to read the Berean Standard first, and then we're going to read the Septuagint from the Brentons and see just, if there's any major changes we can spot. So here in Zechariah chapter 4, verse 1, then the angel who was speaking with me returned and woke me as a man who is awakened from his sleep. What do you see? He asked. I see a solid gold lampstand, he replied, with a bowl at the top and 7 lamps on it, with 7 sprouts to the lamp. There are also 2 olive trees beside it, one on the right side of the bowl and the other on its left. Do you know what they are? Replied the angel. No, my lord, I answered. So he said to me, this is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. Verse 7, what are you, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel, you will become a plain. Then he will bring forth the capstone, accompanied by shouts of grace, grace unto it. All right. So it seems to be the first message before it starts a new message.
Who's Zerubbabel? Is that a king of the time?
It's either the king or the priest. I can't remember. I think the
Okay.
priest was Joshua, so Zerubbabel was the governor.
Okay.
I believe he was the governor at the time. Because remember, they came back from exile in the days of Ezra, so there's not really, they can't have a king.
Okay.
They're a
Right,
vassal
right.
state at
That's
this
right,
point.
that's right.
So, all right. So in the Septuagint, the first 7 verses reads, and the angel that talked with me returned and awakened me, as when a man is awakened out of his sleep. And he said to me, what do you see? And I said, I've seen, and behold, a candlestick all of gold, and its bowl upon it, and 7 lamps upon it, and 7 oil funnels to the lamps upon it, and 2 olive trees above it, one on the right of the bowl and one on the left. And I inquired and spoke to the angel that talked with me, saying, what are these, my lord? And the angel that talked with me answered and spoke to me, saying, know you not what these are? And I said, no, my lord. And he answered and spoke to me, saying, this is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, saying, not by might nor by strength, but by my spirit, says the Lord Almighty. Who art you, the great mountain before Zerubbabel, that you shouldest prosper? Whereas I will bring out the stone of inheritance, the grace of it equal of my grace. Interesting. So this translates the capstone as the stone of my inheritance.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because that gives a different imagery, right? I mean, the capstone we all picture is Jesus, don't we? Or is he the cornerstone?
The cornerstone is Jesus.
Yeah.
The capstone of this great mountain that's slain is a reference to Babylon, to my understanding.
Okay.
That it is going to slay not only the land base, but the mother Babylon as well.
Right.
So with most great cities, they'll build a cornerstone, but also a capstone. And as far as depends on, I guess they have a certain place in the city that has a capstone they place with a decorative in honor of type of thing. And it seems to be once you've taken the capstone, you've destroyed the city.
Interesting.
Right. So it's an interesting thing. It's like before Zerubbabel, you will become a plain. He will go forth with shouts of grace. What are you, O great mountain? So it could be prophesying the future destruction of Babylon. But this is a prophecy that's always been very mysterious to me, even.
Okay.
Right. As far as what's going on here, maybe we'll get more information though, if the angel decides to give an explanation of what we're seeing. But as far as the Septuagint goes, in verse 7, it calls the capstone a stone of inheritance, and then the grace of it the equal of my grace. And I'm not sure exactly what that wording means. You guys are welcome to put your thoughts in the live chat if you have an understanding of what the grace of it will be equal to my grace and what that exactly means. But I've never heard that term in scripture before. It's kind of
Yeah.
unique wording.
Yeah. I mean, off the top of my head, it seems like New Jerusalem talk, but because that is his inheritance, and there's gonna be a lot of grace within it. But
Oh, so you're saying that you're saying that the capstone is not a reference to. You're saying that he's saying, okay, so he's saying that, oh, great mountain, you'll become a plain, meaning the destruction of the point of authority on earth, and then he brings out the New Jerusalem. Is that how you're reading this?
well, I was going more from the Septuagint wording of the stone of the inheritance, and the grace of it, meaning the stone of the inheritance, equal of his grace. So to me, the Septuagint, that particular verse, just that one, is reading New Jerusalem to me, but I'm not sure how it fits with the rest of the vision or what mountain is being spoken to.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can see what you're saying as far as the stone of inheritance, for sure. Okay, so let's look at verse 8 in the Berean on the left. It says, "Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house, and his hands will complete it. And then you will know that the Lord of hosts has sent me to you. For who has despised the day of small things? But these 7 eyes of the Lord, which scan the whole earth, will rejoice when they see the plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. And then I asked the angel, What are the 2 olive trees on the right and the left of the lampstand? And I questioned him further, What are the 2 olive branches beside the 2 gold pipes from which the golden oil pours? Do you not know what these are? He inquired. No, my Lord, I replied. So he said, These are the 2 anointed ones who are standing beside the Lord of all the earth. And that's it. So let's go over here in verse 8 in the Septuagint. And the word Lord came to me, the hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundations of this house, and his hands shall finish it. And you shall know that the Lord Almighty has sent me to you. All right, so is it possible that the great mountain here, so he's talking about the house of God being built. It seems to be what it's saying here. Because he is talking about candlestick in the house of the Lord, the menorah. Seems to be what he's talking about with the lampstands and the oil and everything. So if he's talking about building and this is in the days of Ezra, okay. So it's possible that the further in context is not talking about Babylon even at all. I could have been wrong in my estimation in the past, and it could be very much talking about the great mountain. Is the former destroyed house of God that's left in ruins that they're going to have to clear away and then rebuild.
That could be.
Interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Let us know if you have an idea on what this is. The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house, and his hands shall finish it. And you shall know the Lord Almighty has sent me to you. For who has despised these small days? Surely they rejoice and shall see the plummet of tin in the hand of Zerubbabel. These are the 7 eyes that look upon all the earth. Now, this is interesting because typically the 7 eyes that look upon all the earth is like reference to the archangels of God, but it's hard with this description around it. It's hard to place that as far as, are you saying all 7 archangels showed up on the earth when they rebuilt the temple in Ezra's day? I don't remember hearing anything about that or even that being theorized. Verse 11 says, I answered and said to him, What are these 2 olive trees which are on the right and left hand of the candlestick? And I asked the second time, and he said to me, What are the 2 branches of olive trees that are beside the 2 golden pipes that pour into and communicate with the golden oil funnels? And he said to me, Knowest thou not what these are? And I said, No, my Lord. And he said, These are the 2 anointed ones that stand by the Lord of the whole earth.
Yeah,
maybe we'll get some more explanation in chapter 2, but
I mean chapter 5.
Chapter 5, but I don't think we do. This is I know that there's a ton of speculation in Torah communities about this passage. Yeah. All types of, this is Ephraim and Judah and all types of like eisegetical, like all kinds of guesswork that I just don't see the text supporting. But it seems to be, if I look at the context of Zechariah's day, coming back from exile, as we discussed in the first 3 chapters, We know Ezra's about to build the temple again. They're preparing for that. It gets delayed for a while, and then it gets picked back. The completion of it gets picked back up again after the days of Cyrus, once they get more funding, I guess, from Xerxes or Artaxerxes, whoever it is.
And can we look up real quick who Zerubbabel is?
Yeah, I think he was he's the governor at the time.
Because that word, that name itself is, well, I mean, I guess it could be Hebrew. I'm thinking Babel in the name, but also El. I'm being a pagan police about it.
Yeah, so it's saying he's the grandson of Jehoiachin.
Of King Jehoiachin.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the grandson. So he was during exile, at the end of the exile time period, traveled to Judah after King Cyrus allowed the Judean captives to return to their homeland to rebuild the temple from Ezra, like I was saying.
That helps me picture a vision that's going on here, because it does seem like, so this is, he's having a vision of the rebuilt temple. No,
the temple they're going to rebuild.
Okay. Yeah, the rebuilt temple.
Okay, sure. Okay. Yeah, it's being announced through him as well as to Ezra and Haggai that they're going to rebuild this temple.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
So I guess the chapter makes sense to me, with the exception of the two anointed ones that stand before the Lord.
As far as the branch, the candlestick, and the branch.
Yeah, like who is stands. That? Is it,
who's it represent? If it does represent something.
Yeah.
Because remember the tabernacle on the earth was a copy of the one in heaven.
Right.
So I'm trying to think, like, it says these are the 7 eyes. So basically, is it just saying that the branch, the candles and the branches represent the archangels in heaven that stand before the Lord? Because it says these are the eyes, the 7 eyes of the Lord.
That's how I feel like that's how we would have to interpret it, because I don't think the Lord has literally 7 eyes on his face.
No. But I'm saying these are the things represented standing
before
the Lord.
Yeah.
And then it says to be, these are the 7 eyes things. So it could be just referencing the archangels in heaven standing before the Father in the heavenly tabernacle.
Because is it in Isaiah where it's mentioned the 7 spirits of the Lord?
Isaiah 11.
Okay.
Yeah. But it immediately tries to define those as like wisdom, knowledge, understanding, grace, that kind of stuff. Okay. So I don't know if.
So it's a separate context. It's not about angels.
Yeah.
Okay.
It says the 7 spirits of the Lord in Isaiah chapter 11. But first, Enoch chapter 60 and 71 also talks about the 7 archangels of God.
Okay.
That are, the cherubim, seraphim, and ophanim. They're all up there. So
I feel like so much of this apocalyptic literature is so much easier to understand when you have Enoch's descriptions of things. It's so infuriating that book was suppressed, because it helps you understand so much of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just
it's helpful for
sad.
Sure. Very helpful.
It's like the same way that we kind of use the 5 books plus Jubilees for us as like your foundational dictionary for everything else that comes after it. That's what Enoch was before we had those 5 books. Like Enoch was that original ancient book that, told you all the stuff you needed to know.
Yep. Hey, One UFC Fanatic, I appreciate your super chat. Thank you for both taking the time to do these every Sabbath. My wife and I learned so much about walking in Torah. Glad to be a part of your cult. Nice. Yeah, man. Welcome to the family of God. That's the idea, is we're just going to all try to do the same behavior as one family, and that way we all get along. That's the goal. All right. So that's an interesting concept there. Chapter 4. Let's go to chapter 5.
Yeah, and I didn't see really any significant differences between the 2 translations.
Well, we saw the stone of inheritance, and if the capstone, if that means that, what does that mean? The capstone is like some sort of idiom that I've never knew was an idiom.
I'm not sure. I know from my days as a former New Ager, capstone, that word for us always meant the top stone of the pyramid.
Right.
So
that's why I said it. I typically thought it was put somewhere in the city that was built as a top thing, and they would put special engravings to their gods
Yeah.
on it and stuff like that. And so once you've destroyed the capstone, you've taken over the city.
Yeah.
You know, you've reached the pinnacle, right? The king of the mountain kind of thing. Rona A. Thank you so much. Appreciate your
It's a super sticker.
super sticker. Yeah. It describes a super sticker.
That's hilarious.
All right, Zechariah chapter 5. It says, "Again, I lifted my eyes and saw before me a flying scroll. What do you see?" asked the angel. "I see a flying scroll," I replied, 20 cubits long and 10 cubits wide. So that's pretty big.
Why are you men so good at knowing measurements just by looking? It's a guy thing.
That's right. We're builders.
He just looked at that scroll and knew how long it was.
And then he told me, "This is the curse that is going out over the face of all the land. For according to one side of the scroll, every thief will be removed. According to the other side of the scroll, every perjurer will be removed. I will send it out, declares the Lord of hosts, and it will enter the house of the thief and the house of him who swears falsely by my name. It will remain inside his house and destroy it, down to its timbers and stones." Then the angel who was speaking with me came forward and told me, "Now lift up your eyes and see what is approaching." "What is it?" I asked, and he replied, "A measuring basket is going forth." Then he continued, "This is their iniquity in all the land. And behold, the cover of lead was raised, and there was a woman sitting inside the basket. This is wickedness," he said, and he shoved her down into the basket, pushing down the lead cover over its opening. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw two women approaching with the wind in their wings. Their wings were like those of a stork, and they lifted up their basket between heaven and earth. "Where are they taking the basket?" I asked the angel who was speaking with me. "To build a house for it in the land of Shinar," he told me. "And when it's ready, the basket will be set there on its pedestal." All right, so this is the passage where a lot of people will say, "Oh, look, there's female angels."
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, angels are never described as storks that are called wickedness, going to Babylon, carrying wickedness to promote wickedness.
Yeah, this seems like symbolism to me.
Yeah.
About the wickedness of Babylon.
Yeah, angels are always they're always referenced as a eagle. The eagles of heaven is a synonym for how angels are referenced, not as a stork and never as a woman.
Yeah.
So just by the way, this is where some people will say, "Oh, look, these are angels. These are not angels. These are not introduced as angels.
Yeah.
These are
They're called women.
They're called women, but they have wings that are flying this thing
Yeah.
over to a." So again, this is now in the occults there are female angels.
Yeah.
Because they love the lore of a female angel. That's literally what the rebellious watchers wanted. They wanted wives, but they didn't have wives.
Yeah.
That's why they took human women and then started creating all these weird hybrids. So I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to make a female angel or a female woman with wings
Yeah.
as some sort of chimera, just like you make a man who's a part lion, part man. You know what I'm saying? You can make chimeras out of men and women. You have the whole mermaid concept with the sirens and everything like that. And it just makes you wonder, with Babylon, you saw lots of female characters personified with wings,
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I mean, even literally Isis is a female with wings and she represents Mother Babylon.
Yeah.
So something to consider, I guess.
So.
All right. So let's read the Septuagint real quick. Is there anything in there that stood out to you that you had a thought or question on?
No, that was going to be the main thing I asked you about was, don't people say this is female angels?
So in the Septuagint, Zechariah chapter 5, verse 1, it says, "I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying sickle. And he said to me, 'What do you see?' And I said, 'I see a flying sickle, the length of 20 cubits and the breadth of 10 cubits. So right off the bat, this is different from a flying scroll.
Different imagery, very different imagery.
Yeah. Now, a flying sickle makes a lot more sense to me, because the sickle, like, it's going to take out the perjurers and the thieves.
Yeah.
But I get it. You could say, well, a scroll is like the written judgment that's been going forth.
It's representing the curse going out over these people. So it could be either, but the imagery is definitely
it's interesting.
Different.
I wonder why it got changed to scroll.
Yeah.
Or what's going on here. So it's the same, seems to be the same size, 20 cubits, 10 cubits. Verse 3 says, "He said to me, 'This is the curse that goes forth over the face of the whole earth. For every thief shall be punished with a death on this side, and every false swearer shall be punished on that side.'" And I will bring it forth, says the Lord Almighty, and it shall enter into the house of the thief and into the house of him that swears falsely by my name, and it shall rest in the midst of his house, and shall consume it, and the timber of it, and the stones of it. And the angel that talked with me went forth and said to me, lift up your eyes and see that this goes forth. And I said, what is that? And he said, this is the measure that goes forth. And he said, this is their iniquity in all the earth. Now, here we go, verse 6. Instead of a measuring basket, he just says the measure.
Yeah.
Interesting. And it says, verse 7, behold, a talent of lead lifted up, and behold, a woman sat in the midst of the measure. So I'm just going to guess here that the measure is assumed to be some sort of container.
Yeah. Something
And
holding.
the Masoretic just decided to go ahead and give it a basket description.
Yeah.
Because it clearly has a lid on something that can hold something inside of it.
Yeah.
Verse 8, he said, this is iniquity, and he cast it in the midst of the measure, and cast the weight of lead on the mouth of it. Okay, I get it. You're closing something inside of it. Verse 9, and I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, the two women coming forth, and the wind was in their wings, and they had stork's wings, and they lifted up the measure between the earth and the sky. And I said to the angel that spoke with me, where do these carry away the measure? And he said to me, to build it a house in the land of Babylon, and to prepare a place for it, and they shall set it there on its own base. All right, so Babylon already has enough wickedness as it is.
Yeah.
But here is from, I guess, the land of Israel. I'm guessing, let me go back up to the top here. I don't know. Go back to chapter 4. Because is he still in, remember he was lifted up and taken to Jerusalem, wasn't he?
I think we were reading that in Ezekiel yesterday.
Oh, okay. The Lord showed me an angel. Okay, so this is chapter 2. Let's go to chapter.
Yeah, Ezekiel was the one who had visions of what was going on in the time. These seem to be like separate.
He's going, all right. I lifted up my eyes, saw a man with a measuring line in his hand. He's going to Jerusalem. Get out, escape Zion, who dwell with the daughter of Babylon. This is chapter 2. So maybe all these visions are happening while he's still in exile. Because what I'm thinking of, I'm just trying to figure out the woman in the basket. Is she being taken from the land of Israel back to Babylon, or is she already in Babylon, just being taken to another place in Babylon for another idol they're going to set up?
I don't know. At this point in history, we're pretty sure Mother Babylon is already installed up there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the land of Babylon. See?
Yeah.
To build a house for it in the land of Babylon. So wherever he is, this thing is going to go to the land of Babylon. And again, I'm trying to say, are you in a vision in Jerusalem, or are you just in a vision in some other part of the empire that isn't technically the land of Babylon?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so either way, what he's seeing here is wickedness in a basket being carried by these hybrid type of women with stork wings that is being taken to the land of Babylon to be made a house for, which a temple, an idol, right?
Yeah.
So this is interesting because it's like, don't you have enough idols already, Babylon?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? Again, this is why Zechariah is a tough read for a lot of people, because there's not a lot of explanation on what a lot of this stuff is going on here.
Yeah, so many other prophets get an interpretation from the angel, like a clear interpretation, but I don't think we get too many of those in Zechariah.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to chapter 6. So in the Masoretic, which is, we're reading from the Berean Standard, the Berean Study Bible, it says, and again I lifted up my eyes and saw 4 chariots coming out from between 2 mountains of bronze. The first chariot had red horses, the second black horses. The third had white horses, and the fourth dappled horses, all of them strong. So I inquired of the angel who was speaking with me, what are these, my Lord? And the angel told me, these are the 4 spirits of heaven going forth from their station before the Lord of all the earth. Well, that's interesting. So now we've got spirits being called, referenced as chariots with horses.
Mm-hmm.
So saw 4 chariots coming out from between the front. The first chariot had red horses. So I'm guessing that it's just calling the spirits the ones driving the horses in the chariot.
I would assume so.
Even though it's not mentioning there's someone in the chariot,
Yeah.
I'm just guessing, unless the chariot and the horses are supposed to represent the spirits of God. Otherwise, we assume there's a driver of the chariot. Let me see here.
6.
Verse 6 is the one with the black horses is going toward the land of the north, the one with the white horses toward the west, the one with the dappled horses toward the south. As the strong horses went out, they were eager to go and patrol the earth. And the Lord said, go and patrol the earth. So they patrolled the earth. Then the Lord summoned me and said, go, behold, these going to the land of the north have given rest to my spirit in the land of the north. The word of the Lord also came to me, saying, take an offering from the exiles, from Heldai, Tobijah, Jedai, who have arrived from Babylon, and go on that same day to the house of Josiah, son of Zephaniah. Take silver and gold, and make an ornate crown, and set it on the head of the high priest, Joshua, the son of Jehozadak. And you are to tell him that this is what the Lord of hosts says. Here is a man whose name is the branch, and he will branch out from his place and build the temple of the Lord. Yes, he will build the temple of the Lord. He will be clothed with splendor, and will sit on his throne and rule. And he will be a priest on his throne, and there will be peaceful counsel between the two. The crown will reside in the temple of the Lord as a memorial to Helem, Tobijah, Jedai, and the gracious son of Zephaniah. Even those far away will come and build the temple of the Lord, and you will know that the Lord of hosts has sent me to you. This will happen if you diligently obey the voice of the Lord your God.
Okay, so this is still just prophecy of the actual return to Israel that has already happened in history. This is not referring to Yeshua as the branch.
It is. That's the thing that most scholars believe that it is. And I would agree that it is referring to him as the branch, even though the word is translated as the branch. It's technically in the original Greek, it's the Orient, which is interesting. I believe this is the passage which calls him the Orient, which means the East. Okay. And so this is what makes a little more sense to us. I saw his star in the east, the Magi who travel.
Well, and I thought there were 4 chariots that came down, but only 3 were sent out, and nothing is mentioned of the east.
We may get to the chapter 7. We may get to the next one. But the point is, what's interesting, if you noticed that this crown that they build, the ornate crown set on the head of Joshua, and you're telling them that this is what the Lord of hosts says. Here is a man whose name is the branch. He will branch out from his place and build the temple of the Lord. Yes, he will build the temple of the Lord. He will clothe in splendor. He will be a priest on his throne, and there will be a peaceful counsel between the two. So this is where a lot of people saying this is the idea of a prophecy of Christ bringing back the kingship and the priesthood back into one.
Yeah.
Remember in the book of Jubilees, Isaac is prophesying that they'll be branched into 2. Judah will rule as the kingship.
It's in the Testament of Levi too.
Right. So as a result of that, this is the prophecy that it was eventually meant to come back together as a Melchizedek.
Okay.
As a king who rules as a priest in righteousness. So what's interesting is that this crown is going to be kept in the temple as a memorial for this prophecy. So this is why people believe that it is a prophecy about Messiah who's called the branch. But it is just Joshua, who's also, by the way, can be translated as Yeshua.
Right.
That he's the one who gets to wear this on his head as high priest. But when he's done with it, it'll just go into a memorial in the palace or in the temple to be kept till when? Where is it now?
That's a good question. Only the angels know. But so ultimately, when it comes down to this, even those far away will come to build the temple of the Lord. That part is talking about the temple that was built back then, right?
Yeah.
Because I've had people.
Wait a minute.
I've had people use that verse 15 to tell me that supports this Jewish notion of building the kingdom on earth ourselves, and we're not waiting for the New Jerusalem doesn't come down till after the 1,000 years. So I've had people use that verse to say, "Oh, look, see, people from all over the nations are going to come and build. We're gonna build the city. We're gonna build the city that we live in during that 1,000-year reign, and then the New Jerusalem is going to come down afterwards."
Okay. Yeah.
So, isn't it talking?
We disagree with that interpretation.
So I'm correct that this is talking about the actual temple that was built when they returned to the land back then, right?
I would believe that verse 15 is yes.
Okay.
But the prophecy about this priest who's going to rule and create peace between the two offices
That's about Yeshua.
is also going to be one who branches out and builds the temple of the Lord, because it's going to be the one that the kingdom come concept,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yes, there's a prophecy in here pertaining to the object they were told to cast, which is this specific
Right.
ornate crown
Okay.
that's going to go along with the guy that does a specific thing,
Mm-hmm.
who creates peace, but is prophesied to create peace between two offices that have intentionally been split up, which used to be one office. And then when it's over, that crown will reside in the temple.
Okay.
And then have they built this temple though, which this crown will reside?
Right.
Not yet.
Right.
Which
Okay.
is why it's still being prophesied.
Right.
Just
Okay.
like previous chapters, you will build this temple.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Zechariah is not easy. Not for the newbies, guys. So again, this is also, if you're receiving this in the days of Zechariah, the days of Ezra, it would strongly behoove you to know the prophecies of Enoch, that there's going to be multiple temples, or the testament of the 12 patriarchs,
Yeah.
that there's going to be multiple destructions, dispersions, and rebuilding of temples. To know that there's going to be, this concept that's happening, because they haven't encountered yet the final destruction that we see from the Romans, which then there is the great dispersion. And then the final temple that's rebuilt is the one whom the branch presides over, right? So even in the days of Ezra, if you knew your prophecies, you would know that we're still building a temple that's going to be destroyed later.
Mm-hmm.
But we're just in the mix. We're in the midst of the ages.
Yeah.
We're not at the consummation of the ages yet, which is what they call it in their writings.
Right.
But we're still in the previous ages. And yet we should be obedient to the Lord here in this previous age. And we want the glory of the Lord to be represented on the earth again, and to put his temple back up and to minister in it once again, so that we can enjoy the favor and the presence of the Lord. So that's something to consider, I suppose. But this is a unique passage that confuses a lot of people, because you're having this symbol of a crown that's meant to symbolize the coming Messiah cast in this specific time period.
Yeah.
For it to be temporarily worn and then put into a museum status.
Yeah.
Which I'm just sitting here going, okay, where did this go? Because the Romans were the next people to invade this temple and destroy it.
I would put money on this verse being ripped out of context within the Catholic and Orthodox Church to justify keeping the foot of a saint. All the weird random what do they call them? They're not called icons. It's a different word for the actual objects that they save. But I feel like some Catholic somewhere read that verse and was like, "Yep, there it is. That's our justification."
or the what they'll call the sacerdotal crown that they claim John had.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Which is where they get this supposed apostolic session to anoint themselves as priests. Yeah.
Oh, from the object, from the crown itself.
Well, they don't claim to still have the crown, but they say that there was a separate priesthood being carried on by the disciples.
Oh my gosh, by the disciples themselves?
Yeah, they say John, the last apostle, had what they called a sacerdotal crown. It's mentioned in one of the writings, but it's how they interpret it.
Wow.
To mean, he must have had his own priesthood, and therefore we've adopted and carried on the priesthood. And even though they didn't start, they just decided not to call themselves priests for 200 years plus after John dies. And then suddenly in the 3rd century, they start calling themselves priests again. You're like, well, because apostolic succession. Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's what you call retconning history. Yeah. So that's all right. So that was the Masoretic. Let's go ahead and read the Septuagint and see how it reads in the same chapter. Verse 1, chapter 6, I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, 4 chariots coming out from between the 2 mountains. The mountains were brazen mountains. And the first chariots were red horses, and the second chariot black horses. And the third chariot white horses, and the fourth chariot piebald and ash-colored horses. So we're learning new equestrian terms here. Ash-colored piebald, we learned what piebald is last time. Apparently it's also dappled.
Yes.
In the Masoretic. So I didn't know that. I've never owned a horse, guys. Sorry. Verse 4, and I answered and said to the angel that talked with me, what are these, my Lord? And the angel that talked with me answered and said, these are the four winds of heaven. They are going forth to stand before the Lord of all the earth. Ask the chariot in which were the black horses. They went out to the land of the north. The white went out after them. The piebald went out to the land of the south. So
this says it's the four winds of heaven.
right. The word spirit is also translated as wind and breath.
Interesting.
In both the Greek and the Hebrew.
Okay.
Yeah. So that brings it a little more metaphoric, idiomatic,
symbolic.
Right. Whereas this word spirit is technically a little bit more specific.
Being someone who believes in the angels and that they have real jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I read spirit and I think angels.
Yep. Verse 6, as for the chariot in which were the black horses, they went out into the land of the north, and the white went out after them.
We just read that.
Verse 7. The ash colored went out and looked to go and compass the earth. And he said, go and compass the earth. And they went out. So who were we missing again?
It was the fourth one.
So first red, black and white. Black.
So the piebald that we don't
So
know.
we've missed the white horses. Where's the white horses? Oh, it says it here. The white went out after them. So in the black horses went out, the white went out after them, and then the piebald or the dappled went to the south. This is the black horses went out, the white went after them, and then the piebald. And then the ash color went out. So it.
Oh, that's why the Masoretic is confusing, because it says this as the strong horses went out in verse 7.
Yeah.
But it does say that fourth color of horse in the Septuagint, the ash colored one.
No. What it's missing is the red. It's missing the red horses in both of these. What happened? Where do the red horses go? Maybe we'll see that later. Because look, red, black, white, and piebald. Let's just call it piebald.
Yeah.
It's like three different names for a black and white horse, Apache horse. Okay. So red, black, white, piebald. We get told what the black, white, and the piebald do, but not the red.
Right.
So that's the interesting part, is where do the red horses go? What do they do? Maybe it'll tell us in a future chapter. But verse 7, the ash color went out and looked to go and compass the earth. Compass the earth. How can you compass the earth if you're on a sphere?
You tell me.
Compass the earth.
I have
it's
no
an
idea.
interesting word to use there. Compass the earth. And he said, go and compass the earth, and they compassed the earth. And he cried out and spoke to me, saying, behold, these go out to the land of the north, and they have quieted mine anger in the land of the north. And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, take the things of the captivity from the chief men, from the useful men of it, and from them that have understood it. And thou shalt enter in that day into the house of Josiah, the son of Zephaniah, that came out of Babylon. And you shall take silver and gold and make crowns, and you shall put them upon the head of Jesus, the son of Josedek, the high priest. And you shall say to him, thus saith the Lord, behold the man whose name is the branch, and he shall spring up from his stem and build the house of the Lord. Stem is also root, and this is Isaiah chapter 11, the root of Jesse type language. And he shall receive power and shall sit and rule upon his throne, and there shall be a priest on his right hand, and peaceful counsel shall be between them both. So now this is talking less of a prophecy and more of just he's got it. There's a separate ruler here.
Yeah.
So this is where I would love to see the original Septuagint.
Yeah.
We understand that this is the Septuagint, that it's not the exact original.
Yeah.
But I would love to see the original, because again, what's going on here between why say he's a priest on his throne? Because
that's a different
context here.
A different connotation.
And shall be a priest on his right hand. I wonder if other Septuagints word this differently. I don't have any at my disposal right now, but that would be interesting. Yeah, I don't think there's any other. One second, guys. There's an interesting resource. There's like a Geneva Bible with the Apocrypha.
That's neat.
Yeah. We'll have to keep exploring this software.
Yeah. It's wild they haven't had to update it since 1998.
The Swahili version.
It's crazy.
All different languages. The Greek. Here we go. Oh, that's the Greek. Greek Old Septuagint. Holy Domain, 1935. Greek. I wonder if we could put this up as a third comparison real quick. Huh. Maybe this is it already. No, because we got the Brentons. Huh, where'd it go?
Did you download it?
I did, yeah.
Well, then click on the little drop down.
I did. It's not there.
Hmm.
All right, we'll have to look later.
Yeah, let's finish.
Well, we're in the last chapter here, and I'm trying to do some due diligence here with this particular passage, right? Because a lot of people believe this is a messianic prophecy,
Okay.
but the Septuagint reads as if it's not.
Yeah.
If I can be very blunt, with everybody. So this part does, but then when you get into furthering description, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's why.
What does this mean?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying let's read the last two verses because he's going into this what the crown is going to be for people. So
Right. All right. So we got verse 14, and he says, "The crown shall be to them that wait patiently, and to the useful men of captivity, and to them that have known it, and for the favor of the sons of Zephaniah, and for a psalm in the house of the Lord.
Hmm.
And they that are far from them shall come and build in the house of the Lord, and you shall know the Lord Almighty has sent me to you, and this shall come to pass if you will diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord your God." All right.
that definitely reads differently. Hmm.
Yeah, it does.
Hmm.
And there shall be a priest on his right hand, and a peaceful counsel shall be between them both. Unless the verse 13 is no longer prophesying about the branch and is just going back to talking about Zerubbabel or Jesus, Josiah, son of Zephaniah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And people have always just assumed that this is continuing to talk about the branch here. Again, we want to remind you guys that, like we talked about in the very first chapter or second chapter of Zephaniah, this is what makes prophecy can be difficult, because you have, like Jesus gave us the example in Luke chapter 4 when he's reading he's reading Isaiah in front of the people, and he reads chapter 61, I believe, in Luke chapter 4. And he says, "The Spirit of the Lord God is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He's sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to the captives and freedom to the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." And he stops right there.
Yeah.
Like kind of what it looks like mid-sentence.
Yeah.
But you go into the rest of this stuff, the day of vengeance of our God, the consolers and the mourners in Zion, this is day of the Lord stuff, the crown of beauty for ashes, that's oil of joy, this is resurrection and people being brought into the priesthood.
Yeah.
Garments of praise and despair, that's resurrection.
So clearly there can be prophecy within prophecy that isn't necessarily the whole passage talking about a specific time period, but maybe
Yes.
one verse is talking about a specific time period and other verses are talking about an
Yes.
earlier time period.
This is what I'm saying. Like Jesus gave us a live demonstration in Luke chapter 4, reading out of Isaiah 61, that, hey, within what looks like a translated full sentence, he stopped mid-sentence and said,
Yeah.
"This has been fulfilled in your hearing today."
Yeah.
But there's a whole nother portion of it that hasn't been fulfilled yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it just makes me wonder if he can show us that it can be that specific.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to see this again in Zechariah chapter 9 when it's prophesying the first coming of Christ, which the gospel writers, when he's talking about riding in on a donkey,
Yeah.
that's in Zechariah chapter 9.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like mixed in between all these other passages, and it doesn't introduce itself about, oh, by the way, here's a prophecy about the Messiah. It just starts going into it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this is, I think, where it speaks in different scriptures I don't have memorized right now, but it speaks about basically just the concept of studying prophecy is for the wise. if I could put it like that. It really requires diligence. It requires knowing God's word to have a good foundation for which you can have a baseline, and also being able to do what we're trying to show you here, which is to cross-reference to say, wait a minute, even Jesus showed us this piece could be fulfilled now, and later the rest of the entire chapter is going to be fulfilled. So when we look at stuff like Zechariah chapter 2 or Zechariah chapter 6, and you're like, all right, here's a prophecy. It's speaking about the branch. It's explicitly telling us that this crown is going to be worn temporarily by this current day priest called Joshua or Jeshua or Jesus, translated Greek. But it's not the same Yeshua. It's not the same Son of God. It's not the Son of God. It's just a previous high priest in the 5th century that it's not Jesus, the Son of God, that shows up later in the 1st century. And that after he wears his crown a little bit, he's going to then put it on display in a memorial for the future that represents the branch, basically. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and while the Masoretic reads that way, the Septuagint almost kind of makes the crown like switch into symbolic of rulership, because first he's talking about take silver and gold and make crowns, plural, and put them upon the head of Jesus, son of Jehozadak or whatever. But then down here,
remember the priesthood would be along a certain lineage, and they usually had sons.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Okay.
But then down here it says, and the crown shall be to them that wait patiently, and to the useful men of the captivity, and to them that have known it, and for the favor of the son of. So to me, that sounds like it's talking about leadership, not a literal crown that's like kept in a box somewhere for use in the future. So it does. The prophecy itself reads quite differently from the Masoretic to the Septuagint in terms of what is actually being described here.
Yeah.
So
maybe the word memorial is not in the sense of on display as a memorable thing,
right?
But instead is the memorial of leadership passed down to these people.
Yeah.
So that could be something else. Basically meaning, here's the crown that gets passed down to the next rulers in succession.
Yeah, and it's more about the rulership than just the crown itself, and the peace between the rulership and the rulership of the priesthood between the two. Yeah,
it's very possible. So this is the struggle that you run into with Scripture when you're reading from people that seem to just love to use a turn of a phrase when writing in the Bible. Like they had all their little personal idioms that they just threw in there. And God's using those same idioms through those prophets because he's communicating, knowing that the people that are going to hear this are going to understand these idioms.
Yeah.
It's like God's like speaking their language. You know what I'm saying? He's like speaking even their street talk.
Yeah, that's the true theory of accommodation, right?
Yeah.
This doctrine of accommodation.
What I feel like sometimes we read with some of these idioms that you have to break down, and I feel like it's Gen Z language.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, if the Bible was written all in Gen Z language,
give me that water, please.
Absolutely struggle to understand it.
But I think that's why there's an entire book of idioms on the Bible that someone had to.
Neat.
Did you ever know about that? This guy in the 19th century, he created this book about the book of idioms, and there's like over 100 different idioms in the Bible, and he tries to break them all down for you to explain what they mean. So I need to buy that because it might have capstone in it. We might get it better. He may have had some sort of historical understanding back then. It's interesting. So that's the 6th chapter. That's 4 through 6. That's 4 through 6. Interesting stuff. I'm kind of upset that I don't have the ability to look at that other.
Yeah, you're gonna have to play around with this software.
Because where did it go? It says it's installed. Oh, there you go.
I kind of was thinking maybe you have to restart the program.
There you go.
It's been like 25 years. I forgot. You got to restart the program.
It's 1998 Windows. It's pretty interesting.
All right. Right.
It's still a functioning program after this long, but
That's amazing.
it's fascinating here. This is the Greek Old Testament. Oh, it's in Greek. It's literally in Greek. But here we go. What if we just did this? Zechariah 6:14, 13, 14. Yeah, but I would still have to figure out the words.
Yeah. That's
These aren't,
for another day.
oh, these aren't hyperlinked, are they? Okay, that's for a little bit deeper study. So we're not going to look at that. All right, guys.
All right.
Early adopter. I actually have logos. I just don't. I've tried to use it in the past and look at it, and I mean, it's, yes, you can break down the words individually. It's got commentary. It's got graphs. It's got charts, pie charts. It's interesting, but it's also expensive to maintain. I just don't know if I've seen that much value out of it as far as like we've been willing to pay for it. Was it like $100 a year or something like that? Okay. Well, if you guys have any questions about the Bible, I suppose, anything about what we just read, but also I know more questions come in than what we always read.
Yeah, just general Q&A.
You guys are welcome to ask some questions if you have any. Destin, you said what? Am I the only Sean in here today? Is he talking to somebody else? I don't know.
I think you were saying something about the software. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's almost as if eSword is basically just a 1998 Windows version of Logos.
Yeah.
Logos is like really nice and modern. It's fancy, a lot of options and everything. But
I'm okay with it.
all right. Thank you so much, Jewel Junction, gifted 5 memberships. Awesome, guys. Everyone that received a membership, you have the opportunity to go to our members videos and check those out. Ference is asking, what do you think about the Israel war situation? About the Iran or the Palestine? What do I think? I think that they're going to be wars and rumors of wars until Christ returns. So we're going to see a lot of that stuff. I think Israel's a Zionist state. I don't think that it's a fulfillment of prophecy. I don't think that wars over there, until you see Apollyon show up, I think we should just keep serving the kingdom by getting the good news of the gospel and the gospel of the kingdom out to as many people as possible. Because when Apollyon shows up, that's when the 2 witnesses will also show up, and that's when any wars over there will be substantial, as we'll have 42 months till the return of Christ. But until then, they're all just LARPing over there. The current modern state of Israel is a Zionist production. It is not, which is a political
it's a political
effort.
movement. Yeah.
This is not fulfillment of prophecy in our understanding.
Sean and I are anti-Zionism. We feel Zionism goes against scripture, and there are actually entire sects of Orthodox Jews who are also anti-Zionist and don't believe that state had any right to just be purchased and created, because they also have the understanding that people are gathered back into the promised land via God. And I don't know if they understand that it's the resurrection, but they are adamant, just like we are, that it's God who sends out his angels and gathers everyone into that land. It's not it's not a piece of land that's bought by a really rich person and created over time through really horrific warfare. So yeah, we don't see Israel necessarily as some timepiece and the modern media that goes on with it. And here's my thing. Our crowd seems to understand false flags and hoaxes put on by the CIA. But this same crowd seems to forget that reality of the world stage when it comes to terrorists in Israel and Mossad, because Israel has a CIA too. It's called Mossad. So anytime you're getting emotionally involved and worked up in terrorist attacks on Israelis and these terrorists and the terrorists need to be destroyed, just remember 9/11 and all of the propaganda that we heard for years and years and years after 9/11, and how many of us looked at terrorist attacks and saw the breakdowns and saw all the signs that, you know, this wasn't actually authentic, organic, homegrown terrorism. This is CIA assets doing these things. So Mossad has a similar job as the CIA, guys. So I don't think it's okay when anyone is killed. I think all of the murder that goes on over there is wrong, no matter what side. But I also am very skeptical when there's a certain side being blamed, when I know that Israel has a CIA too. So that's another reason that Sean and I don't necessarily get involved in all of the back and forth and taking sides and all that kind of stuff, because we also understand that the world is a stage and Israel's got its own issues with fomenting revolutions and terrorism in their area of the world. So,
yes, Serena, we not only love the people in Israel, we love the people in Tunisia, we love the people in Spain, we love the people in Britain, Australia,
yeah.
we love the people in South Africa, we love the people in Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay.
Yeah.
We love the people in Canada. We love people everywhere. We love everybody according to the love of God. So it's good job. Yes,
No partiality.
We agree with you.
Yeah, we're not supposed to show partiality like that, so we don't.
No Jew or Greek in Christ. We love everybody as we're instructed. Okay. Dustin, I saw your message. You sent me you sent me a message about the Lexham Septuagint, and let's read. This is a different Septuagint, the Lexham.
Okay.
So we'll start in verse 12. It says, "And you will say to him, thus says the Lord Almighty, behold, the man, Orient is his name." That's what I was talking about previously.
Okay.
It's the original Greek word is Orient.
Okay.
"And he shall rise up from below the horizon, and he shall build the house of the Lord. And he shall receive power and shall sit and rule upon his throne, and his priest shall be by his right hand, and there will be peaceful counsel between both of them. And the crown shall be to those who endure patiently, to his useful men, and to those coming to understand it, in the favor of the son of Zephaniah, and for the psalm in the house of the Lord, and those far away from them will come and build in the house of the Lord. You shall know the Lord Almighty has sent me to you, and this will become to pass if you listen diligently to the voice of your God." So
yeah, that reads slightly differently.
Slightly different.
Yeah.
Still seems to be a prophecy mixed in with their current day information. So thank you. I appreciate that, Dustin. Hadamidi, he said that you logged into the KIC app and you put in your name and your PIN, and I guess it's not working for you. Try to just restart the app and log back in, see what happens. Otherwise, I can't give you live tech support right now, brother. Not during the stream. I apologize. And the membership is not through our KIC app. It's through Patron or through YouTube memberships. So the join button on YouTube. But for some people, we actually have been receiving this complaint. People that have iPhone users, sometimes the join button's not there. I don't know why. I don't control YouTube. I don't control Apple. So I don't know why they're doing that. But you may have to just use Patreon if you want to support us. We appreciate the support. And I apologize for those systems making it so difficult. It shouldn't be.
I could have sworn I saw a question about numbers.
Yeah, let me go back up here. All right. Carmela's asking about Numbers 29, 13 through 34. Are all the bulls for daily Sukkot offerings whole burnt offerings, all burned up and not eating? That's a large passage. So let's give us a minute here to go and look at everything you're referencing. All right. So I'm guessing she's talking about the
Food
the
offering,
13 bulls a day. Now, this is what the priesthood would be offering, by the way, as a general context. This is what the priesthood is going to be offering, not what the people have brought forward for their tithes and their first fruits. And so this is from the stock that is being owned by the temple, is brought forward for these to be done by the priests. And so if amongst these included male goat offering, the sin offering, so that's not a burnt offering, that's a sin offering. But the additional regular burnt offering for the daily, every day there's going to be second day you present 12 young bulls, 14 rams, grand include one male goat and sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering. So it looks as if this is going to be the ordinance of the animals that are made for food for the priests. Now, the additional, when it keeps saying in addition to the regular burnt offering, that's what it had already explained in Numbers chapter 28, verses, I think, 1 through 7, where it's talking about the daily burnt offering that the priest should observe. It's just reminding them that while they're doing these additional sacrifices on Sukkot, they still need to maintain the daily burnt offerings, the morning and evening burnt offerings. So yeah, that's how I understand it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm tired today, and I got this massive headache. So if I seem a little out of it, I'm just like, I got my head's throbbing. Okay, so let's see here. Ference is asking about the Sabbath. Yes, you can cook on the Sabbath. Go check out our video that we've done on this. Go to the YouTube search bar, type in Kingdom and Context, can I cook on the Sabbath? And we go through a full biblical breakdown for you. Yes, you can cook on the Sabbath. Okay, sister? The command is not to work, not to make other people work for you. Creating food for yourself is not considered work. It's not, you don't prosper financially like a vocation by creating your daily meals. So that's a tradition of Judaism, which is adding to the word of God. And we don't support that or promote that. So I go through the scriptures that explains eating is okay on the Sabbath. Yes. Cooking your food's okay.
Yeah. And just as a short summary for you, that doctrine from Judaism is built on an out of context verse taken from Exodus, is it 16? Where manna comes down?
Usually it's Exodus 35, I think verse 4, where it says, do not kindle a fire.
No, Exodus 16, it literally says, bake what you will bake and boil what you will boil, because you're not supposed to bake and boil.
Okay. Depends on who you're talking
Sabbath.
to. As far as the Jews, because they say don't kindle a fire, that's why they end up eating cold leftovers, because they refuse to turn on the stove and cook their food that day.
Also, from the Messianic Jew people I was learning from when I first came into Torah, they absolutely use the verse taken out of context from Exodus 16 that literally says, bake what you will bake and boil what you will boil ahead of time. And that verse was specifically about the manna, because the manna had to be prepared. It couldn't be left overnight or else it would breed worms. In that same chapter, they were given quail, and they weren't told they had to cook the quail ahead of time. It was strictly the manna that was cooked before the Sabbath. So just in case that's a verse that's been thrown at you, or that you have in your memory somewhere of, oh, bake what you'll bake and boil, because that's why I wasn't cooking on Shabbat. I didn't think anything about killing fire. I was reading a verse that said bake things ahead of time, but I wasn't realizing it's in the context of specifically the manna that came down from heaven. So Quan, go read that the chapter about that, because I don't know why I glazed over it so many times until I actually started milling my own flour. That must be why, because I started milling my own flour. But if you read it, it seems like it was actually some sort of grain that they ground up and made into cakes. So they made it into some kind of flour.
Yoshiyahu, which part of the scripture, which sacrifice are you asking about? Because the burnt offering, no, but the guilt offerings, the sin offerings, the Thanksgiving offerings, the tithe offerings, the people were to eat and enjoy of it. This is also, I think, Deuteronomy 14, or is it 16, where they talk about bringing their tithe in. They could eat and enjoy of the tithe as well. So I would need to know more specifically what sacrifice you're asking about. But yes, the people would eat. I mean, just like with Passover, right? They get their, if you want a specific, if we're talking about Passover offering, then they would take their goat or their lamb as a portion between the people that brought them within their household, and then the priest would prepare them and give them back to the people to eat. So that's for, we see that in First Chronicles chapter 29 and 30. Excuse me, Second Chronicles chapter 29 and 30. As far as a explicit explanation of the priest preparing all these animals brought forward and giving them back to people to eat. So, hey, thank you so much for the super chat. No name, no picture. We appreciate your anonymousness. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. We appreciate your anonymous donation. Your question is, what is your understanding of Daniel 11, 35 to 45? I see the king as Satan, or maybe Apollyon defeated at Christ's coming, as a decree against him is fulfilled. All right, let me give you just a second. Let me go check out this passage. All right, so here in chapter 11, 36, and the king will do as he pleases and will exalt himself and magnify himself above every god. He will speak monstrous things against the God of gods. He will be successful until the time of wrath is completed, for what has been decreed must be accomplished. He will show no regard for the gods of his fathers, nor for the one desired by women, nor for any other god, because he will magnify himself above them all. And in their place he will honor a god of fortresses, a god his fathers did not know, with gold, silver, precious stones, and riches. He will attack the strongest fortresses with the help of the foreign god, and will greatly honor those who acknowledge him, making them rulers over many and distributing the land for a price. At the time of the end, the king of the south will engage him in battle, but the king of the north will storm out against him with chariots, horsemen, and many ships, invading many countries and sweeping through them like a flood. He will also invade the beautiful land, and many countries will fall, but these will be delivered from his hand, Edom, Moab, and leaders of the Ammonites. He will extend his power over many countries, and not even the land of Egypt will escape. He will gain control of the treasures of gold and silver, and over all the riches of Egypt. The Libyans, the Cushites, will also submit to him. But news from the east and the north will alarm him, and he will go out with great fury to destroy many and devote them to destruction. He will pitch his royal tents between the sea and the beautiful holy mountain, but he will meet his end with no one to help him. All right. Let me look back here. I thought it gave us in chapter 11, I thought it gave us a context to this king that's being referenced in verses 35. If it's all talking about the same king, which I think it is, I don't think that this was an end times
Yeah, this is talking about
passage.
kings that arise in Persia. Isn't this similar to the prophecy that was given about Alexander the Great? And his...
Alexander the Great was a Macedonian.
I know. I'm saying, isn't this prophecy is similar to there's a separate prophecy.
There is, baby.
About
There is.
Alexander the
That's,
Great.
I'm getting to it. This is where it's talking about the king of the south, the king of the north. Remember, the successors to Alexander the Great were his 4 generals
Right.
who took over the 4 different cardinal point directions of his kingdom,
Right.
to which now they're being referenced as the king of the south, the king of the north, that kind of
Okay.
stuff. So therefore, I don't think this is talking about Alexander the Great, but I don't think it's talking about an end times prophecy either.
That's
I think
what
it's
I'm
just
saying.
talking about specifically in the days, like kind of almost the days leading up to the days of the Maccabees, specifically.
I was trying to use Alexander the Great just as an example because a lot of people are familiar with that one, where it was a prophecy given that has already been fulfilled in these leaders that came and the military actions that they did. And so this would be similar, where this is a prophecy that was fulfilled back then by leaders of that time. Is what I'm saying.
It's already been fulfilled.
Okay.
Specifically before the days of the Maccabees is my best estimate with the timeline and everything like that. And it could even be specifically, I don't know, but I mean, this is one of the highly debated passages in Daniel that people are always talking about. Oh, this, who's the interpretation? I just don't believe this is an end times prophecy. I do believe that it is a part of the succeeding rulers of the Seleucids, which were the extended Greek rulers that seceded out of Alexander the Great's day in the following generations, and then just more descriptions of what they would go and do and how they're going to attack the people in Israel, as well as all these other people at the same time. So we do see this with Antiochus IV, how he specifically went after the people of the Holy Covenant. But it's a great question. And you're asking, what is my understanding? Do I see it as king? See the king as Satan, or maybe Apollyon defeated Christ? No, I don't see it as an end times timeline. So sorry about that.
I can tell you that in my infancy as a Christian, when I was listening to, just a lot of regular pastors doing sermons online, I heard a lot of passages taken out of books like Daniel, Jeremiah, specifically Daniel, Jeremiah, and Zechariah, that were used out of context to, make all these theories about the end times. And then Sean and I have been studying the prophets together. Now that I have now I have a better understanding of the timeline and like the branches on our context tree for a better foundation. As we read through, I see that like a good majority of the verses that I thought were talking about end times were prophecies from back then that were in a soon to be fulfilled type timeline, where it was fulfilled in the time of during this tumultuous time of the Israelites being gradually taken into captivity and then gradually brought back and then taken again. Through those times, there were prophecies about the leaders of that time, of those, the next 100 years for those people or whatever. And a lot of the prophecies that I thought were about the end times, when you read them in their full context, they're actually about back then. And a lot of them are like proven to have, a lot of people don't, know that a lot of these prophecies are known to have been fulfilled just through the books of history, just from understanding.
Yeah, they actually fall into the apologetics bag, if you will, for apologists who have studied history and can say, oh, when you hear that random claim that there's been a ton of biblical prophecies already fulfilled, well, here's some of them.
Yeah. And it's through a lot of what these rulers of other nations did back in these times. So
where the atheist and the agnostic come in, they get upset and they'll say, well, you're just retroactively saying that these prophecies were written before it happened, as opposed to some man just made it up after the fact to control and to promote the God of the Bible, but we have people like Isaiah documented in history to be in the 7th century BC. Mm-hmm. We have these types of things when he's talking in chapter, I think 23, about the king of Tyre, whom Ezekiel in the 6th century BC in chapters 25 through 28 is also talking about the king of Tyre, whom we see there's momentary judgment that is prophesied in Isaiah and Ezekiel, and then there's a final judgment that's carried out by Alexander the Great, and one of the most famous battles of him actually literally building a bridge for 9 months while arrows are being fired at him.
Yeah.
In order to get to this island fortress where the king of Tyre was from their main seat of power, in order to take them over. And he was like the only ruler in history to be able to do that and accomplish that. It's super documented by secular historians to the point where it not only validates the timeline prophecies of Isaiah and Ezekiel, we already have validation on when Isaiah and Ezekiel lived.
Yeah.
And so like corresponding biblical archaeology and historian claims with secular archaeology and historian claims actually match. And just little moments like that, there's others, but that's one of the bigger ones in the major prophets, and a major recognized historical king of Alexander the Great. So it's hilarious in modernity when you have the atheists come along and say, oh, that was written after the fact, because they're just showing they don't know history.
Yeah.
As is promoted by secularists,
Yeah.
As far as documented history.
Yeah. And so I just want to give a little encouragement or admonition or warning to anyone who may be sliding down into any particular rabbit holes that are taking you down this line of thinking that all of history is a lie. All of archaeology is a lie. Every history book, documents from history, it's all a hoax, okay? Because there is so much documented secular history and history from people who consider themselves believers, like people in Israel, people in Egypt. There is so much documented history that supports our scriptures. I don't think it's valuable for any of us to be throwing out all of history. Now, Sean and I are tinfoil hat people. Okay. We know there's lots of history that may have been altered, or the victors wrote history. It's written from a certain perspective. Like, we get that. Okay. We get that certain things have been covered up all through history, like the Nephilim bones. Okay. We understand that. Right. But they had to hide the Nephilim bones because archaeology is real, and they really were digging up those bones and things that couldn't be explained according to their secular worldview. So I just want to encourage anyone who's let go of the rabbit holes that are making you question all of history and all of reality, and nothing is true, because that's not the world that God gave us. That's not the perspective that we should be viewing the world, because history is something that actually ends up supporting the book that our faith is built on. And there's just no reason to throw it out.
Yeah, if you throw out the history the Bible talks about, you're going to be throwing out the prophecies that the Bible speaks about in the future as well. And so this is where it's you'll end up. It's like the same people that start rejecting Paul, before you know it, they're out of the faith.
Yeah,
because it's a slippery slope that can't be maintained. There's no logical continuity there. It becomes just some random video on YouTube claiming, well, here's a claim that I don't believe that. That these last 1,000 years were real.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You're like, well, prove it, man. You can't just make random claims and run around and saying that this is, Jesus has already showed up and he's hiding in Antarctica in the North Pole. Like that's the mud flood claim now. That's the Jesus already showed up.
For some of them.
Point is,
they don't have a coherent doctrine.
But yeah, it gets pretty wild out there. So.
But you can fall into a trap of thinking that all of history is fake, and so you're not going and verifying like Alexander the Great really did exist, and he really did. The prophecy that was spoken of him really was fulfilled, and it's written in multiple areas of history, not just in the scriptures. So what I'm trying to encourage is not to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Like, yes, there are some things about history that have been manipulated, that we've been told the wrong storyline, but it's not just not real. It's not just someone's just been making fake documents for the last 100 years to fool everybody into thinking we're further along in a timeline than we really are. Because you can miss out on gems like this, where it's like, oh, this isn't a prophecy about end times, because look, this battle happened at this time in history and it's recorded by multiple witnesses. So yeah, I just want to encourage my friends who, sometimes can get sucked into those rabbit holes.
Yeah, preterism says all prophecy has been fulfilled in history.
Mm-hmm.
That's one pendulum swing. The other pendulum swing is the mud flood crowd that says you can't trust any history.
Yeah.
And here we are sitting in the middle with the Bible saying, hey guys, we got some things been fulfilled. We got some things that ain't been fulfilled.
Yeah.
Like, we just need to look at the context. We need to, Yes, history is real. Things can be buried in dirt over time. Cities do build on top of other cities
Yeah.
because they don't want to build new foundations.
Yeah.
Like these are even modernity. We see that type of building practices happening. All right, let's get to some more different concepts. Okay, King G is asking Romans 2:14 through 15 regarding the law written on people's hearts. You're asking, what does it mean? At a base level, we all have God's law written on our hearts at a base level. So this is what I think it means from my study of Scripture for all these years. At a fundamental level, you know not to kill someone, you know not to take someone's property, you know to take, the most basic concepts. the more advanced, if I could put it like that, applications of God's law, which becomes a descriptor of the wise, that's not a base level, right? So there's applications of God's law that he's then given to us through revelation, through the prophets, that are considered a part of the covenant as a sign of the covenant, like circumcision or keeping the Sabbath, the dietary information, things like that, that he decided we needed, because at a base level, we may not know these things. But at a base level, you know not to slit someone's throat. This is at a base level. This is why you just don't naturally walk around thinking about doing it anyway. So this is what I believe Paul is referencing here, is that those who did not have the law, when they find themselves doing things to which the law testifies to, it becomes a law unto them as well, because they start adopting their conscience. What's the base level of the law that's written on their heart? Some translations use the word conscience. They start applying that into their culture, and it still is God's law because it's been written on their conscience at a base level, to which they will be judged by these things at a base level, which is what he says in verse 16, on the day they stand before Christ. And so they may have grown up in Papua New Guinea and never known about specifically tzitzits, or specifically, it just depends on it's God's decision to send somebody there to tell them about the fullness of his ways. But if they don't have the fullness of his ways, he's going to judge them on what they did have at a base level in their heart and mind that was right and wrong that they abided by. And this is why we're judged in every word and deed that we produce. And so it's an interesting concept. This is why we have a righteous judge in Christ who can effectually judge the law of God lovingly, mercifully with people, according to our every word and deed, not according to which church we're a part of, not according to which council or creed we profess to. This is why it's at a base level written on our hearts.
Yeah, that law written in everybody's heart is why when the camera pans to you at a concert and you're engaging in an affair at that concert and everybody looks at you and all those eyes are on you, and you immediately hide because you know instinctively adultery is wrong, having an affair is wrong and sinful and shameful. And so what do you want to do? You want to hide your shame. So that I would say would be a perfect example of even people who aren't professing Christians, who have the Spirit of the Lord. They do know right from wrong on some level, and that even goes into some of the 10 Commandments. Like, they understand adultery is a sin.
Yeah.
Doing all right?
No, my head's hurting bad.
You ready to go?
Ference is asking about Numbers 15, 30-31. Did David sin with a high hand? There remains no offering for someone who sins willfully, according to that verse. So God judged David according to whether he sinned with a high hand or not. And he determined he did not.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm lost on a high hand. I don't know what that means.
Okay, just one sec. We'll go read it then. So in Numbers 15, it's just basically someone that's... The idea is that you are in willful defiance to Yahweh, to the point where you're given the death penalty.
Okay.
All right. So verse 30, the person who sins defiantly, whether a native or foreigner, blasphemes the Lord. That person shall be cut off from his people. He shall certainly be cut off because he has despised the word of the Lord and broken his commandment. His guilt remains on him. Okay. So when Nathan shows up to David and says to him, this is what you've done, David says, you're right. I've sinned. So any sin, like if that's the route we take for a defiant sin, any sin is we all deserve, like we all would be called a high-handed sin if that's the So the concept of the high hand had to be judged by the elders to be or the judges, the priests, to be determined what's the nature of how he's doing this sin. Is he rejecting the covenant? That's the defiance that is implied in this passage. Or is he just fallen to temptation and sinned? There's a difference, right? Does he still want to be a part of Israel? Does he want to repent, accept the admonition that's brought to him, and be brought into penitence through rebuke? And will he do that? Will he be humble before the Lord as God? Or will he just continue to be defiant because he rejects the covenant and rejects Yahweh? There's a difference. And so this is where I think the elders or the priests would have to determine that difference. Nathan, through the word of the Lord, had already determined that David was not in that mindset. But instead, David had fallen to temptation and made bad decisions, tried to cover it up. So it's a great testimony to the mercy of God.
Yeah, and actually, if you read, I can't remember which chapter, but it's in the first, it's either chapter 4 or 5 or 6 of Leviticus. It's listing out specific sins for specific guilt offerings. And a lot of the sins that are listed out are deliberate, willful sins. They are deceiving your neighbor. I think theft is one of them. Like there's sins listed. They're like, yeah, there's clearly, and the Day of Atonement covers all sin. It doesn't say this is only for sins of ignorance. I mean, if we were only covered by atonement for sins of ignorance, then none of us would be getting into the kingdom. So that's something I think that is a misnomer, especially in the Torah crowd, is that there's no sacrifice for sins, for willful sin. That just tells me you haven't read Leviticus anytime lately, because there's absolutely willful sins listed in there. Now, that's not us saying go sin willfully because there's going to be a sacrifice for you no matter what. That's not what we're saying. But it's not true to say that there is no sacrifice for willful sin, because almost all sin is willful. There's some stuff that we fall into, but almost all sin is willful, guys. Let's not kid ourselves.
Anonymous, appreciate the super chat, man. I appreciate that. You seem to like our thoughts on Daniel chapter 11, but disagree because you believe chapter 12 is going into Day of the Lord concepts, speaking about the resurrection. I agree with you about your understanding of Daniel chapter 12. This is where you would have to assume Daniel chapter 12 verses 1 through 3 is an immediate follow-up to what's being spoken in chapter 11. And this is, again, it's okay if you disagree. If you disagree, our interpretation is that there are lots of passages in the Old Testament, like we just tried to explain with our reading of Zechariah 6, referencing Isaiah chapter 61, that there's a lot of prophecies that they're all pushed together, man. There's no, like, in the original Hebrew and the Greek, there was no subheadings or subtitles that said, okay, now we're going to be speaking about a future prophecy. Like, they're just all pushed together. And that's what makes it difficult. I agree with you. It can be like it flows at certain points, just like Jesus read from Isaiah 61.
Yeah.
Seemed like it flows.
Yeah.
But he stops mid stanza and says, today this has been fulfilled in your hearing.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of it is Day of the Lord stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a pretty big gap of thousands of years between those two. So I agree with you, man. I understand. And this is why I said Daniel 11 is highly debated by scholars and evangelists and preachers and apologists. And it's a difficult chapter for sure. But yeah, man, we appreciate the support.
I think there's one more down.
Hey, Nathan, I appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you so much. He's saying, hey, guys, can you please explain the context? Galatians 4:24. Thanks and blessings. So I'm going to give you my best answer here before we go. We also have an entire playlist called Galatians. Have you read Galatians playlist here on YouTube? So be sure to check that out. Ton of videos going over Galatians for you, okay? So let's go check this out real quick. Now, Nathan, just as a quick, if you haven't seen any of my introduction videos on Galatians, just a quick understanding that I believe that Galatians is written addressing the party of circumcision, as he tries to open up with in chapters 1 and 2. And they were the ones that were bewitching his converts in Galatia. And so this is where they're trying to tell them that Jesus wasn't enough. They need to come in and get halakha, like ritual circumcision as well as all the other rituals that they needed to go undergo. And so it was them telling them basically can't get you saved just by putting your faith in Christ and walking according to the commandments. You need all these additional rules from Judaism as well. And that's what Paul is bucking against, because that's what the party of circumcision taught. So that's the general background context to Galatians and what he's arguing against. But as he goes into this analogy or this allegory in chapter 4, we'll put this on screen. All right, so verse 24, there's a ton of context to this whole chapter, but I'll try to make this quick. Verse 24, these things serve as illustrations for the women represent two covenants. One covenant is from Mount Sinai and bears children into slavery. This is Hagar. Now, Hagar stands for Mount Sinai in Arabia and corresponds to the present-day Jerusalem because she's in slavery with her children. But the Jerusalem above is free, and she's her mother. For it's written, rejoice, O barren woman. She breaks forth in crowds who have never travailed, because more children destined woman than whatever her husband. Sorry, I'm reading that fast, guys, but our son's waking up. I got a super bad headache, but we're going to get to this. So we've got a comparison, an allegory of two different women in the Bible, Hagar and Sarah. Sarah's being referenced as the mother of Jerusalem above who is free. He's up and out if you want to grab him. And so this is the concept of when this takes place is the resurrection. Okay. This prophecy that's being quoted from Isaiah chapter 66 is, I believe it's 66, it takes place at the resurrection. Are you okay? Sorry, I thought she fell down the stairs. So there's immediate context as far as what Paul is expressing as far as the allegory of the two women. Okay, one woman is a different covenant that takes place at the resurrection. This is actually a passage that supports what we've talked about on the channel here for a long time, which is you do not enter the new covenant until you get to the resurrection, because that is what it's talking about here in verse 26, 27. So that's one. The other one is present day Jerusalem, people that are in slavery. Allegorically, you're in slavery. This is a different type of slavery than Hebrews chapter 2. It's not a fear of death, but it's a covenant that you're in slavery to. You need to keep the commandments of God, lest you find yourselves in a suffering being under the law, being under the penalty of the law of the commandments of God, which was represented as Hagar, because Hagar being someone that was dismissed from Abraham because she fell out of disfavor because of the bad behavior of Ishmael. One second. So again, following in line with the parallels of Hagar and Sarah's life, if we look back to why is he even comparing these two women? We understand the two covenant comparisons. One is this life, the other one is at the resurrected life. But why is he comparing these two women to Hagar and Sarah specifically? Why not Bilhah and Zipporah? Why not Rebecca and somebody else? You know what I'm saying? Like, why not? Why Hagar and Sarah? Well, Sarah is the woman of promise. She had the child of promise. The resurrection is of promise. We haven't received the resurrection yet. It's in the future. Hagar is the lady that is representing the covenant that is the here and now. She had the child in the here and now. She had Ishmael in the here and now. She did not have a child of promise. She had a child of her own manufacturing and doing. Hey, big boy. And then that child became a stench in the nose of Sarah because of his bad behavior. Sarah was concerned about Ishmael's behavior towards Isaac, and so she ousted Ishmael and Hagar because of the bad behavior. What's up, little man? So this is where I think he's trying to serve, as he says, as an illustration. Someone that is born to a promise, considered born free. So as we walk in the commandment, please.
I've got him. I've got him.
I'm just worried about
It's okay.
You know what I'm worried about, sweetie.
I know what you're worried about. I got it.
He also will turn off the Wi-Fi over there, so just be mindful. So basically, this is why in this life we're not born free, because we have to stand judgment, and we have to discipline ourselves according to the commandments of God. And so I think this is important that we understand the differences here in the analogy. The allegory is actually what he calls it. He says, I'm speaking an allegory. He also tries to preface all that by saying, tell me, you who want to be under the law, do you not understand what the law says? It's written that Abraham had 2 sons, one by a slave woman, one by the free woman. So he's taken an analogy of a slave woman and a free woman to represent the free woman at the resurrection and us and the slave woman here and now. The term to be under the law is someone that is not obeying the commandments of God in faith and belief, but you are trying to do the law that was being proposed through Judaism. So the previous context of Galatians 4 in this moment, why he builds this analogy, is to express that the law that the Pharisee, the party of circumcision, was trying to bewitch the Galatians to say, you just need to do the law, which wasn't the law of God. It was specifically the law of God plus all the halakha rituals of the party of circumcision. So this is the inferred reference of being under the law, rejecting Christ and walking in the faith of Christ by doing the commandments alone, but adding all these additional commandments of the party of circumcision. That's what he's referencing in this passage of being under the law. So that then, therefore, you do not know what the law says. That he's referencing then, if you're going to be in this situation, you're going to identify yourself with the slave woman and not with the woman of promise. The woman who's free represents the resurrection, New Jerusalem, Mother Jerusalem above, which is free. You're not identifying in that vein where you walk, because you'll be walking in the commandments at the resurrection too. So what does it mean to be under the law? It's because you're under the penalty of the law, because you're rejecting what the law instructs of you, which is to accept Christ. They were trying to twist it on its head and saying Christ's not good enough for you. You need circumcision and all these other things as well. So there's a lot here. I'm trying to give you a good quick answer, but it's not a quick answer, unfortunately. There's a lot here. He's pulling up on an allegory to chastise the Galatians who were bewitched, who were fooled by the party of circumcision, telling them that their walk with Christ, which is to do the commandments, was not enough. They needed to do the rituals of the party of circumcision as well. He also battles this same obstinate group as we see in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, Ephesians chapter 2, verses like 8 through 13. He also battles them in Romans chapters 2 through 4. This is just one of the bad doctrines that he was teaching against. And he gives what I believe is a very not clear-cut allegory to try to make this statement. Because if you don't know the previous context, then the allegory can be taken into all kinds of wild speculation, thinking that keeping the commandments is slavery and that it's not good for you. But that's not what it's saying at all. I always try to remind people, if you go to Galatians 6, he reminds you that the very people that are arguing for the Galatians to be under the law and to be circumcised and to not put their faith in Christ, that they don't even keep the law themselves. Okay, so that's why they're considered in rebellion. They're under the law. So there's a lot here. This Galatians definitely proves Peter's warning right. Definitely proves Peter's warning right. We must know the Old Testament so we're not confused by any difficult passage that Paul's written.
Hello.
What's up, big boy?
Hello.
Toothbrush.
Yeah.
Toothbrush.
Hey, Juan, man, I really appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much for that, man. Hopefully these things are a blessing to you today.
I thought we did put our live streams into a playlist. Weren't we doing that for a long time?
I don't know if I don't know which playlist you're asking about or thinking
Someone
about.
was asking if all of our live streams, all the Sabbath live streams, could be in a playlist. It'd be easier for them to binge them. I thought we did.
I don't know if we have. I can try to go back and do that later.
We're on TV. You want to say bye?
No.
No. Okay.
Carmela, yes. I can't remember what it's called right now. Gifts of the Spirit, baby. Yeah, we do have a video on that. Just give me 1 second here. I go over the fullness of 1 Corinthians 12 and 13. And let me see if I can find it for you real quick. I think it's the one that's got Kenneth Copeland on the cover. I think it was from like a year or two ago, though. So it may be pretty far back there.
Tea. That's Daddy's tea.
Head is kicking. Whew.
Yay. My
Okay. So I found the video.
Oh,
I'll put it in the live chat for you
orange.
with the link.
Yay. Mobile phone.
All right. Hopefully that helps, Carmela. It's in the live chat.
Ooh, that's a big one, huh? Yay.
Awesome, Robin. Thank you for becoming a member. Hopefully you enjoy all the extra content as well. Thanks for your support. I've already had some tea today. I don't know. I don't know if it's the tea or what. It's not the tea. I mean, I don't know if the tea's helping. I've already had some tea today, so. Jewel denial, we do. I just honestly right now I don't know. I want to say go to the YouTube search bar and type in Kingdom in Context. What will we do in heaven? Or just type in Kingdom in Context in millennial reign, and you should see a variety of videos that pop up in regards to the millennial kingdom. Okay, so that should be an easy way.
You sitting with Bella? She gonna give you kisses. Kisses. She's the sweetest. Do you want
Yeah,
to sit?
Serena, that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
That's the message of the party of circumcision, that they didn't consider the Galatian converts to be a part. That's why they were considered bewitched or fooled by Paul. They said, now that you start in the Spirit, now you should go with the letter of the law, meaning that they'd already started in faith and belief, received the deposit of the Spirit, started walking out in their commandments according to faith in Christ, and here comes the party of circumcision afterwards to say, oh, you're not really saved. Like, you need to go get circumcised and go through all these rituals first, and then you'll be saved. That's what they taught, and that's why Paul was trying to refute them. And so this is where they're doing things out of order. They're saying you have to go through these rituals before you can be considered a part of Israel, which is why I said cross-reference what you're saying here, cross-reference with Ephesians 2, 8 through 13, because he's refuting the same argument and reminding the people in Ephesus that they are in covenant in the Commonwealth of Israel through faith and belief. And that's where he uses that phrase, though you are called uncircumcision by the so-called circumcision. He's referring to the party of circumcision as the so-called circumcision, because they're really, just because they've snipped on the outside, their hearts weren't snipped. So they really weren't circumcised. That's why he later says we are the true circumcision in Corinthians. Those of us who circumcise our hearts to God. All right, guys, that's all I can do today. I got to go. Thank you so much for being here.
Want to come say bye?
You want to say bye to everybody?
Bye.
Did they get to see his awesome hat?
I think so, yeah.
Is that Levi? Is that Levi? Bye-bye. Is that Levi?
Your new hat?
New hat. He's getting better.
He loves hats, and we are so excited about it.
All right. Say
All right.
bye-bye. Here we go.
Say bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you guys.
Shalom.
We'll see you next time.
Love you. Have a great week.